Before that, Labour didn't build enough either. So we've made it clear we're going back into government, and we're going to make sure that I don't have to endure that in my constituency. I don't have to worry about my constituents not having a home over their heads, a roof over their heads, because we're going to build 1 million new homes, and there's going to be 500,000 of them. They're going to be council homes, and we'll be proud to call them council homes. And you know, every day I go into work and my constituents go into work, I go on the Great Western Railway. And every day, every morning, there's train cancelled, there are not enough of them, and they're overcrowded, and we travel like cattle pressed together. And why is that? It's because the Tories sold off our railways, and people from that privatisation, rich corporations, made billions. Now, they'll tell you what the solution is, and you know it, don't you? Is we're going to renationalise the railways, we're going to bring it back into public ownership. And you know, this time round, our form of nationalisation will be based upon the control of that industry, that sector, by the workers themselves and the passengers that have to maintain the service. It's a form of democracy that we'll introduce right the way across our economy. And you know, in my constituency tonight as well, I know there'll be a large number of constituents who've been waiting for operations for weeks and months. And the reason they've been waiting for so long is because these Tories have not just cut the NHS, these swines are trying to sell it off as well. So when we go back into power, as soon as that comes, we've made it clear, we're going to end all privatisation, and we're going to take it back into public ownership and control. And we're going to make sure that the people who manage that will be the workers themselves, the doctors, the nurses, the ancillary workers. And we'll make sure that patients are represented as well. Because the NHS was the jewel in the crown of that Attlee government. Nye Bevan introduced the NHS, and to be frank, it was probably one of the most civilising policies that has ever been introduced by any government anywhere. And we're not going to let these Tories take it away from us, are we? And I tell you also, in my constituency, I meet a lot of teachers. My daughter's a teacher as well. There'll be teachers here. You know what it's like, what the stress is at the moment. Being forced to teach to the test, where everything is about league tables or exams, where you can't give children a broad education. You work all hours God send, you're dedicated, and yet you still can't earn a living wage to afford a roof over your head or get on the property market. So we've made it absolutely clear, you know, all our public servants are going to be properly paid. And that includes teachers, nurses, doctors, bin men, bin women, you name it. And the way that we do that, is we'll scrap the pay cap, and we'll bring back collective bargaining. But collective bargaining won't be successful unless you have a strong trade union movement, and you can't have a strong trade union movement whilst the Trade Union Act is in place. So we've said, in the first 100 days of Labour government under Jeremy Corbyn, we'll scrap the Trade Union Act, and we'll introduce legislation. And it's not asking for the earth. We'll introduce legislation that simply brings us up to the same standards across Europe, the International Labour Organization conventions. All that will do is give us free trade unions once again. We've also, I tell you, I go back in my constituency too, and I've got lots of youngsters who've gone on to university. My son's there at the moment. And on average now, they're coming out with debts of £57,000. And I keep saying this, I know some people find it repetitive, but we have a sincere belief in our movement, and we've always held it, that education is a gift from one generation to another, not a commodity to be bought and sold. Now, I voted against tuition fees when Labour introduced it, and it was a mistake. Do you know, the very minister who introduced it, Lord Adonis as he now is, has accepted it's a mistake. The system is collapsing. 7 out of 10 students can't pay their loans back anyway. And at the same time, they've got the burden and worry of that debt throughout, well, most of their lives. So the solution is simple, isn't it? We'll scrap the tuition fees. We'll get rid of them once and for all. But we want to go further. We want to introduce, just as Nye Bevan has introduced the NHS, as from cradle to grave, free at the point of need, point of delivery, If that's good enough for health, we think that's good enough for education. So we want to introduce a national education service, free from cradle to grave. So that means free childcare, free nursery, free primaries, free secondaries, free university education, free apprenticeship. And then also, if you're older and you want to go back and study to enrich your lives, free access to education as well at all levels. I get told time and time again, well, where's the money coming from this? You know, you've got a magical money tree. Well, I thought it was a bit rich. Philip Hammond and Theresa May accused me of having a magical money tree when they wanted to bribe the DUP with $1 billion, 100 million for a vote, they suddenly found that money on their magical money tree. I haven't got a magical money tree, but I'll tell you what we've got. We've got a large number of rich people and corporations who are not paying their taxes. They're using tax avoidance and evasion on an industrial scale. So we're going to make them pay their way for the first time in the history of this country. And we're going to have a fair taxation system that will enable us to afford the public services that we need, pay our public servants what they need to have a decent living, but also for all those right the way across the private sector, we're going to guarantee everyone £10 an hour, restore trade union rights, ensure that people are respected. I just say finally this, what sort of society are we trying to create? I've been trying to describe it to people. It's a society which is radically fairer, radically more democratic, radically more equal. Yes, based upon a prosperous, sustainable, both environmentally and economically, economy. But where that prosperity is shared by everyone. I call that socialism. And I'll just say this finally. Be proud of the history of Labour over the years. Be proud of what we've done. But I tell you, be proud of the vision that we're going to engender in people now of that socialist society. Solidarity. Let me now introduce the next band, because I want to be the Chancellor and a DJ. It's the Stone Foundation. They're a terrific band.